Alright, so we're going to take apart the Glock 44, which is a 22 caliber pistol. And what's interesting about this pistol is that it's blowback operated, but it also um, has a lot of the characteristics of a recoil operated Glock. So first thing, as always, is ensure that the firearm is clear. So we're going to eject the magazine. Nothing in the magazine. I'm going to set that to the side. Select the action, lock it open, and it's a little bit difficult to see, so let's get some light on here. I'll figure it out here in a second. Alright, so as you can see, there's nothing in the chamber, and if we look through, we can see that there's nothing in the magazine well. So firearm is clear. Alright, so on taking this apart, one of the things with the Glock is that it is absolutely necessary to press the trigger in order to take it apart. Now, before we do that, let's take a look at a couple of things. Number one, on this particular version and some of the other versions of the Glock that has come out, it has an ambidextrous slide stop. So we have a lever here, and we have a lever there. Now, both those levers are activated by the same thing, which happens to be this cutout that's located right there. Okay, so that comes up, pushes up on the slide lock, and then causes it to stop the slide from moving forward. All right, now this pin here allows you to change your back strap. This particular version of the Glock comes with 3 different sizes, so based on what is most comfortable to you. And then holding all the guts in place is this pin. This pin actually runs through the trigger itself and connects all of the other components, which we'll take a look at in a second. All right, so again, clear, right? Now that's clear. And then as difficult as that is to see here, okay, we've got that, the chamber's clear itself. Now, slide goes forward. Now, normally on a 22 caliber firearm, you would not want to dry fire it. However, again, the Glock necessitates it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fire. Now, once it's fired, and this is the same for any particular Glock firearm, if you take your thumb here and then wrap your fingers across the top, you can squeeze. Notice we're holding it just a short distance away, and then a thumb on this side and a finger on that side, if you can see it. There you go. We pull those down, and then the slide will come off. All right, we'll look at the slide in a second. Now, on the Glock itself, you have 4 rails. Those rails are located at the front. Here's one, there's the other. And then at the back, there's one, and there's the other. Now, for the most part, this gun is relatively clean, although we have a fair amount of carbon buildup on the slide stop. See? And 22 calibers are notorious for being dirty, so it's one of those things where you have to make sure you're constantly paying attention to it. Now, the part that I'm cleaning off right now is actually part of your trigger bow. Okay, so with this, what you got to understand is that this piece right here actually presses up against your firing pin block. So I'm going to put some pressure here, but as the firing, as it's pressed back, right, that's going to move that out of the way. And if you notice, there at the back with that tail, right, oh, hang on, there we go. As it comes back, it actually drops. Now, it's kind of hard to see, so let me try and get it where you can see it better. All right, so as it comes back, and drops. Now, what does that actually do? So, the back of that trigger bow engages with the tail of your firing pin here. So as your firing pin's brought back to the rear, so it's coming back this way, what actually happens is the tail, which is located right here, okay, slides off of this piece, or rather this piece runs away from it, meaning running down, which lets the firing pin go forward, striking the cartridge. Now, the firing pin block, which is here, actually is in place and allows the firing pin to travel forward. Now, as the gun recoils and the slide moves backwards, it comes all the way back to locked, and then as it's moving back forward again, this pushes and it re-engages your trigger. So that's your trigger reset. So bottom of a Glock is basically single action, right? Trigger does one thing, bang, right? The top part of a Glock, the slide of a Glock, in essence does two things. It cocks and releases. So, we talk about Glocks and them being a unique action. They really are, because it's a combination of both double and single action in how it functions. Now, unlike the M&P 22, if you watch that video, the Smith & Wesson M&P is a fixed barrel gun. On this gun follows the same design principles as the standard Glock firearm, and so it's a tilt barrel, and it has a locking block, and it actually unlocks as the gun is working. So let's take a look at that, and we'll get that done very soon. Alright, so we're going to set the grip module with all of its internal components to the side for a second. Alright, so to remove the barrel, what we're going to do is we're going to push forward slightly on the recoil rod and then pull it up. Right, so looking at it here, it's a press and lift. Right, set that off to the side, and then push on your hood. So I've got to unlock it. Notice that, right? So it actually locks. So we're going to bring it forward and push up, and then slide it out. Now, what's interesting about this is, most blowback firearms don't have much of a locking system. You have the roller, and then, when we're talking about recoil operated, there's spring tension and there's actual things that are engaged that causes it to lock and then unlock in order to load the next firearm or next round. So on this particular gun, hang on, let me get this. All right, so you see that cutout right here? This cutout right here and this one right here are actually your locking surfaces. I gotta get this right. Okay, so this cutout, which is located right there, okay, and there's another one on the other side, those are what actually come in and lock this firearm together. Now, not much of a locking system in that, this doesn't come up or the slide doesn't, grab a hold of it, but just the same, there is a locking system to ensure that everything's where it's supposed to be. Again, remember, as in all of our blowback operated firearms, whether they're blowback recoil or whatever else it might happen to be, the purpose of the extractor is to ensure that the cartridge stays on the breech face. Okay. Now, looking here, so here's our breech face. Let's see if I can All right, so this is our breech face, right? And the firing pin's located in here. You can see the firing pin hole right there. This is going to be our extractor. Again, remember on blowback operated firearms, the purpose of the extractor is to hold that cartridge onto the breech face. Okay. Now, if we turn it over, okay, again, here is our firing pin disconnect. So if we push this in, then the firing pin will go all the way forward. And you can see the firing pin protruding just slightly through the breech face. Okay. Now, with this engaged, there's no way to get this to go. So if I pull this all the way back and let go, it's still not going to impact the cartridge because of the way it's designed. All right. Okay, so in regards to taking apart, that's mostly how you're going to take it apart. There's not a whole lot of intent or reason to go any further than that. Now you can actually catch here on the other side of the tail and pull that back, maybe if I don't bend it too much, at which point then I could slide. Well, it's not going to want to cooperate, but you push the sleeve in and then your base plate back here actually comes off, and then you can get your extractor out, your firing pin out. But with the Glock, you never actually put oil in the firing pin anyway, the firing pin hole, and you shouldn't really on any gun, right? So anywho, all right, so now that it's apart, let's put it back together. So first things first, we're going to take our barrel goes in, let it drop, and then we slide it back. Remember I told you that's locked? Notice I can't push it out. Okay, then we're going to take our recoil spring. Our recoil spring comes in here. Then we're going to take this, push it forward, and make sure it sits in that groove at the base of the barrel. All right. Now we're going to take our frame, line up our rails, and then we push it onto the rails itself, and then push. You hear that click? That click says that it's already locked, but we're going to pull it back just to make sure. And then at this point, you'd really want to conduct a functions check, right? So again, clear. You can see that. You can see there. Good. So press. Should go click. Hold the trigger back. Pull it back. Let it go again. Ease it forward until it clicks. It clicks. And then press it again. Functionally, this Glock is in good working order. And that is the assembly and disassembly of the Glock 44.